Very Odd Caster is filmed in front of a dead audience.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to another episode of A Very Odd Caster. Today we are going to get to part 2 of our analysis of the 100 greatest movies of all time, according to the American Film Institute. Now we've already covered some of the obvious flaws in the AFI's methodology. One, they don't seem to like comedies. They don't seem to think much of comedies. There's only 5 in the entire list of 100. And another flaw is they seem to be tilted towards really old movies, like really old, prehistoric, you might say. And we did 51 through 100 last week, and now we're going to do 50 through numero uno. And we're going to start right away with number 50. And this is the only movie from the 21st century, the 2000s, to make this list of 100. Which, I don't know, kind of tells you something, right? That movie at number 50 is Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, made in 2001. It barely made the century cut, the millennium cut. So all you millennials out there can sit back there as you read this list and say, okay, boomer. Number 49 on the list of the top 100 films of all time is a movie called Intolerance, made in 1916. Well, kids, I know a little something about intolerance, and that's why I take Tums. You see, Tums soothes the stomach no matter what the hell you've put in your system. Yes, and that would qualify as a word from our make-believe sponsor here on A Very Odd Cast. On to number 48. This movie I did see, called Rear Window, that came out in 1954. This was a Hitchcock film, and Jimmy Stewart was in it. And it was, as all Hitchcock films, pretty darn good. Number 47 was the classic Streetcar Named Desire. Came out in 1951. And of course, this is where Marlon Brando has his famous line, Stella! Number 46 on this list was a movie called It Happened One Night, starring Amy Robach and T.J. Holmes. Just piling on a little bit. Good luck in your new job search, you two. Number 45 on this list was a movie called Shane, released in 1953. Rings a bell? Wasn't it a movie about a dog? I think it's time to look this up. No, it wasn't a movie about a dog. It was a Western. Should have figured, because all the movies back then were Westerns. Don't you like hearing movie reviews and critiques from somebody who doesn't watch a lot of movies? Yeah. Number 44 on the list was The Philadelphia Story, which came out in 1940. I presume this movie was set in Pittsburgh. The Things We Learn. The Philadelphia Story was a romantic comedy starring Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, and Jimmy Stewart. And so that makes 6 comedies on this list. Maybe I should hold my fire a little bit. Nah. It's still, this list still omits a lot of classic movies that, yeah, they may have been a little lowbrow, but they made us laugh, and that's better than what you get in the world today. But the Philadelphia Story was about a socialite whose wedding plans are messed up by the arrival in town of her ex-husband and a tabloid journalist. So, number 43 was the movie Midnight Cowboy, released in 1969, starring Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman. And it was a weird flick. And I remember when it was out in the theaters, I was very young, but I remember seeing it up on the marquee, Midnight Cowboy. And I assumed it was about cowboys, maybe a cowboy and Indian film. Don't tell the Guardians. But I remember bugging my mom and dad to, hey, can I go see Midnight Cowboy? You know, it's about a street hustler, turning tricks for, on the streets of New York or whatever. But so needless to say, they're like, maybe not right yet. So it was a weird period piece, but it was a good flick, from what I recall. Number 42 on the list was none other than Bonnie and Clyde from 1967. This was, of course, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway playing the star-crossed couple. That was a great flick. Gene Hackman was in it. He was fantastic. The lady who played Blanche, Estelle Parsons, according to Wikipedia. And if Wikipedia says it's true, wow. But yes, Bonnie and Clyde was awesome. And it was one of those pieces where Hollywood seamlessly takes a real-life historical couple who were bad apples, criminals, murderers, you name it, and turn them into these charismatic figures by virtue, in part, of who they cast. Obviously, Butch Cassidy is another example where they have the 2 most charming, best-looking dudes in Hollywood as Butch and Sundance. That would be Newman and Redford. And then in Bonnie and Clyde, they have this gorgeous couple, Warren Beatty, and he's gorgeous, and Faye Dunaway. Just a beautiful couple, and they were likable and everything, and Hollywood's amazing how they do that, and you leave there. I'm watching Dexter right now. I'm in season 7 of Dexter, and I'm just rooting nonstop for this freaking serial killer. Yes, he's a vigilante. Yes, he kills bad guys. That's his intent. But he's a damn serial killer, and I'm rooting for him. So Hollywood's really good at that stuff. But they definitely, Bonnie and Clyde was one that falls under that category. And everybody was bummed out at the end when they got blown away with like 800 bullet holes in their car. Even though you knew it was going to happen. And by the way, Estelle Parsons did such a great job as this grating, shrieking, obnoxious character, screaming nonstop, Blanche, that, admit it, you were glad when she got shot, right? Number 41 on the list was the original King Kong from 1933, starring Fay Wray and a dude in a monkey suit. Number 40 on the list was The Sound of Music from 1965. That was the classic musical starring Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer. And I did see that movie. My grandfather took me to see it in the theater. So I was really young, I thought. Maybe early teens. I don't know what I was doing in the theater that late, but I don't know. Sometimes movies made their way back to the theater back in the day before you can just go, hey, I want to watch this. But yeah, my grandpa took me and I was like, I don't want to go see The Sound of Music. You know, I'm like, yeah. But I secretly enjoyed it and, fell head over heels in love with Julie Andrews. So that was this theme. Every time I went as a impressionable kid or a teen, I'd go to the movies and I'd fall for the chick, and Friedrich wasn't too bad either. I'm Friedrich, 14. Number 39 on the Hot 100 list is Dr. Strangelove from 1964, and we have unearthed yet another comedy on this list. Somehow I overlooked that one because I'm familiar with Dr. Strangelove, even though I don't remember the details other than it was a satire of the fears of nuclear war back in that period between Russia and the U.S. Things have changed a lot, haven't they? It's so good that we're moving right along and not on the brink of nuclear war with Russia. And it's a fact. Peter Sellers is great, by the way. And that was a Stanley Kubrick film. And Kubrick was brilliant. Number 38 was a movie called The Treasure of the Sierra Madre from 1948. And like a lot of hidden treasure, it was so hidden that I never saw it. Number 37 on this list was The Best Years of Our Lives from 1946. Sounds like a soap opera. I don't know anything about that one, and I gotta at least take a peek and find out what the hell. So The Best Years of Our Lives, which was made in 1946, was sort of the template for all the Vietnam post-traumatic stress disorder movies that would follow in the decades after that. The story is based around servicemen coming back from World War II who are trying to readapt to society. And something that I guess I wasn't really aware that they had those types of movies about World War II, because World War II was so glorified, as opposed to Vietnam, which was roundly criticized. So anyhow, an interesting little discovery. Thanks, Wikipedia. Number 36 on this list was The Bridge on the River Kauai from 1957. Well, that was a bridge too far for me. Didn't see it. Don't have any idea what it's about. But I'm guessing it has to do with a bridge. And I'm guessing that bridge goes over a river that's called Kwai. So that's called critical thinking, folks. Try it sometime. Number 35 is the movie Annie Hall from Woody Allen in 1977. Another romantic comedy, a satirical romantic comedy. So we have now uncovered 3 comedies in addition to the 5 from the lower half of this list. So, maybe I was wrong. Annie Hall was Woody Allen and Diane Keaton. And to my knowledge, there were no child actresses under 18 in that one. Okay. Number 34. Number 34. Yes, at any given time, one's voice could change again. Number 34 was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, one of the first Disney classics. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the film where the expression size doesn't matter came from. Number 33 on this list is one of my favorites, if not my favorite of all time. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest from 1975. Jack Nicholson's shining moment. He's had a lot of them, but that was a shiner. And that was also a film that sort of was the precursor for stardom for several other actors, including Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd of Taxi and Back to the Future fame. My favorite line in that is at the end when the chief suddenly starts talking and Nicholson goes, or McMurphy goes, "Chief, you sneaky son of a bitch." Love it. Number 32 on the list was The Godfather Part 2 from 1974. What can you say about that? That's the one where Al Pacino, Michael Corleone, turns to the dark side and he becomes the mob boss, and he's even more ruthless and murderous than Don Corleone. Number 31 is The Maltese Falcon from 1941. I'll fly on right by that one because I didn't see it. Number 30 is Apocalypse Now from 1979. Speaking of Vietnam films, Martin Sheen was the main star of that one. I saw that, it's been a long time. Like all those Vietnam movies, they're very intense, they're very depressing, very well made, but I don't know. I get the message. War sucks. After a certain point, I can't say I rush out to watch those films because it's like, let me guess. You're painting a portrait of the horrors of war. I don't like war, and I don't like to sit through 2-3 hours of it on the silver screen necessarily, even though I've seen a lot of those movies, and they're well made. Number 29 on the list was a movie called Double Indemnity from 1944. I'm going to say this twice. I never saw it. I repeat, I never saw it. Number 28 on the list is All About Eve from 1950. Didn't see that one either. I'm going to guess the plot's centered around a character named Eve. Just a guess. Number 27 from 1952, High Noon, starring Gary Cooper. And that is a movie I probably saw when I was a kid, but it sort of just instantly makes you think of those gunfights out in the OK Corral back in the day. Number 26 was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, starring Jimmy Stewart. Came out in 1939. Story about a average guy who, decides to run for office and is elected, and to try to make changes in the system. And of course, he comes head to head with the realization that Washington's a very sleazy town. It was true in 1939, and it's true in 2023. Number 25, To Kill a Mockingbird, another one of my favorites from 1962. Gregory Peck was in that one. Scout. It was a great book, Harper Lee, and it was a great movie. And the funny thing about it is that these days Hollywood tries so hard to make these movies that are like, oh wow, so socially conscious, or woke, as the expression goes. You can't top To Kill a Mockingbird for socially consciousness. I mean, this is 1962, long damn time ago, and it was just a powerful movie. I also saw the play a few years back, and Jeff Daniels played Atticus Finch. He did a good job. Number 24 on the list was E.T. the Extraterrestrial from 1982. Hi, Elliot. Hi, Elliot. Anyhow, number 23 on the list, The Grapes of Wrath, which I was forced to read in English class. But it was a classic, talking about the Great Depression impact in the Dust Bowl, families out there heading west to try to survive, basically. Just too long of a book, and pretty depressing tale. Though, if you're into movies where grown men breastfeed, well, that's your movie. Number 22, Some Like It Hot. Marilyn Monroe was in that one. Yeah, I think it was Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. Yeah, they dress in drag for some damn reason. It used to be kind of a shtick, right? Put guys in drag and everyone laughs. Now, it's not so funny, is it? Right? It can be. I don't even know if I saw that. I may have seen it, because anything that Marilyn Monroe was in, I would try to take a peek at. So, apparently, according to this, Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon dressed in drag to hide from gangsters, because they had apparently witnessed a crime, and these criminals were looking for them, so they dressed in drag. So that's a pretty damn good reason to slap on some lipstick and a girdle, if you ask me. Not that you need that many excuses to do so. Okay. Number 21 was Chinatown, 1974, inspired by some waterway dispute out in California. They actually turned it into a really compelling, multi-layered film. And of course, the great Jack Nicholson was in that one. Number 20 on the list, it's A Wonderful Life, starring Jimmy Stewart. Donna Reed and others. Alfalfa was in that movie. The guy that played Alfalfa. He's the one that I think he was dancing with Donna Reed, and then George Bailey cuts in and they dance and he's tossed aside. So poor Alfalfa. Not only was he about to get shot, but, he lost his girl to George Bailey. But everyone's seen that one. Very uplifting film. Long. Very long. Number 19, On the Waterfront. 1954. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. Yep, that's that one. And that's about all I remember about it. Number 18 was a movie called The General from 1927, and I don't know what the hell that is. Number 17 is the movie The Graduate from 1967. It's Dustin Hoffman's coming out party. And that was the movie that the Simon & Garfunkel tune, Mrs. Robinson, came from. And of course, in the movie, Dustin Hoffman's a teenage boy and he has an affair with the mother of one of his friends. The hell's her name? Anne Bancroft. That's who I was thinking of. She may have been married to Mel Brooks in real life. I gotta look that one up too. Finally got one right. Well, you know what they say about every blind squirrel finding his nuts somewhere. No, wait, that's not exactly the saying, is it? Okay, number 16 is Sunset Boulevard from 1950. That's a black comedy, another one. Damn. But it's basically focused on sort of the Hollywood and broken dreams and whatnot. And Sunset Boulevard, of course, is the street that the main drag that goes through Hollywood. So, number 15, 2001, A Space Odyssey from 1968. Well, there's only one movie on this list of 100 that was made in the 2000s, but at least they include A Space Odyssey, which was supposed to take place in 2001. So that was, of course, a Stanley Kubrick classic. Number 14, Psycho from 1960, starring Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates, who has an obsession with his mother, who he, I guess, killed and left her sitting in a chair. She's a bag of bones, and he like communicates with her and he dresses like her. It's just weird shit, man. And that was a Hitchcock film, of course. And the shower scene was just, one for the ages, right? Number 13 on the list, Star Wars, the original, 1977. I confess, I am not a Star Wars junkie. At the time, that movie was lauded for all its special effects, but of course, if you look at it now, you're like, really? I went to see it in the theater because one of my good friends was dying to see it. And I was like, it sounds like a sci-fi movie. I wasn't into sci-fi. I don't know why. I'm just not into it. Still not into it. But I went to the movie and I fell asleep. Yes, I fell asleep during the original Star Wars. So I missed Carrie Fisher and Luke Skywalker swapping spit. I don't think that happened. Number 12, The Searchers from 1956. I'm searching my memory banks, but I've concluded that I've never heard of that. Number 11, City Lights from 1931. Something about a big city, I presume. Number 10, The Wizard of Oz from 1939. Of course, we all know The Wizard of Oz. And, some of the stuff that's come out since then, that, like the Munchkins were like kind of boozers and partiers and a little crude towards poor young Judy Garland, And then Buddy Ebsen was supposed to be the Tin Man, but he had an allergic reaction to all that Tin Man makeup, so he had to drop out. Really good stuff. And of course, the Wicked Witch, Margaret Hamilton, who makes a damn fine cup of coffee. Number 9, Vertigo from 1958. Again, starring Jimmy Stewart, another Alfred Hitchcock classic about a guy who battles his fear of heights, I think, and, gets all vertigo-like, Number 8, Schindler's List from 1993, a classic movie about, Nazi Germany. I think I've seen parts of it. Number 7, Lawrence of Arabia, British Beatlemania. No, that's the Billy Joel song. But Lawrence of Arabia was the number 7th ranked flick from 1962. I doubt I saw that. It's just like, it's riding around on camels and shit. Number 6, Gone with the Wind, 1939. Saw that one, was forced to see it in history class because of the allusions to the Civil War. Lived in the South, I did, for a long time, and of course it was a sacred flick down there. But didn't do that much for me. A little over dramatic, all that stuff. Number 5, Singing in the Rain from 1952. We're kind of coming full circle with the Clockwork Orange, aren't we? Was that Fred Astaire? I don't know. I'm about to find out, though. Yet another musical comedy. Gene Kelly. I was thinking Fred Astaire, but Gene Kelly was in it. Singing in the Rain. And I thought that was a Ricky Martin song. Oh no, that's She Likes to Take Her Clothes Off and Go Dancing in the Rain. That's right. Living La Vida Loca. Number 4, Raging Bull from 1980. That was Robert De Niro's method acting when he gained a bunch of weight for that, to be a heavyweight boxer. Number 3, Casablanca from 1942. One of the all-time classics, starring Humphrey Bogart. And it was a good flick, for sure. And Peter Lorre with the Rembrandt papers. Rick, all that stuff. I love Peter Lorre, man. Just love him. He would show up in he showed up as a character in Bugs Bunny. I don't know if you guys remember that, but Peter Lorre showed up there, and I was like, who is that motherfucker? But good stuff there. We are now at the number 2 all-time film, according to the American Film Institute, The Godfather, the original, 1972, with Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, James Caan, and Robert Duvall, and Talia Shire as Adrian. No. And then, last but not least, number 1, On the American Film Institute's list of top 100 movies of all time, Citizen Kane, starring and directed by Orson Welles from 1941. Yes, I did see Citizen Kane. We studied it in film class in college. And I'm going to be honest. I'm like, what's all the fuss about? You know, the story had to do with was just kind of a takedown of all the media moguls. I think Hearst was one who was in the crosshairs. And I guess it got a little too close to home. And so the movie was like banned by some of these guys who took offense to the way, the eerie similarities to them. And it was a movie that really didn't get any real traction. Part of it was because it was being blackballed, censored. Yes, that happened back then as well as now. But it didn't really get its legs until well over a decade after it came out. And now it's just widely accepted as the greatest film of all time. I don't know, you know? I would much rather see The Godfather than Citizen Kane. I would much rather see Casablanca than Citizen Kane. I would much rather see The Wizard of Oz than Citizen Kane. Star Wars, no. Psycho, Wonderful Life. I don't know. Not to diss it, but I mean, Orson Welles was great, but I was much more interested in War of the Worlds than Orson Welles. You know, the fact that he fooled so many people. You know, it kind of shows how people are so willing to be scared shitless. Now, when has that happened in recent times, huh? Let me go get my mask. But that is the 100 top films, according to the American Film Institute. You can send me your thoughts or your list at veryoddcaster@gmail.com. That's veryoddcaster@gmail.com. That's it. I'm tired of talking about movies. We're still at a month, 6 weeks away from the Oscars. And I'm just hoping that Will Smith shows up. Have a pleasant weekend.
Walking high, 50 combat, crawling in the trenches, how they hide.